The Biden White House is now ordering the media to defend Joe from the Republican impeachment attacks. They're under attack. And this guy, Ian Sams, over at the White House counsel's office, hopped on TV and he's defending the president. He's saying, look, Joe loves his son. And so stop asking questions about it. But he's not just making his pitch on TV, which he's fair to do. He's also using the power of the White House and the government to put pressure on the media and ordering the media to take action to stop the Republican onslaught. Now, we've got clips from Schiff, and Matt Gaetz is going to explain why this is very obvious and easy for anybody to prove. But impeachment is in season, and Ian Sams is now putting pressure on the media to stop them, to help them stop the Republicans from the attacks. Now, this is coming, look at this, from the White House counsel's office, right? This is the White House. Ian Sams, special assistant to the president and senior advisor to the White House counsel's office, right? The White House attorneys. And we were pretty outraged when the White House was sending letters and sending demands to Twitter telling them to censor people and whatever. But now this is the White House openly sending literal talking points, like bullet points, talking points to the media. You can see them listed here. And they're telling them it's time for the media to do more to scrutinize House Republicans and their false claims that they're basing their impeachment on. Okay, White House lawyers using the leverage of the government to pressure the media to take action, do more. Could you imagine just for 1 minute if Trump said anything like this to the media? You do this or else. Do more to attack the Democrats when they're impeaching me. Now, you're free to make your claims and go out and make your pitch on the media and make your argument, but this is a memo to the leadership at the news media organizations. So this is what this guy wrote. He says, after nearly 9 months of investigating, House Republicans haven't been able to turn up any evidence of the president doing anything wrong. Previously here I've gone through many different examples. But House Republicans led by Marjorie are nonetheless opening up a baseless impeachment inquiry. And didn't we hear baseless the last time we talked about the election, right? And it wasn't the claims of election fraud and a rigged election were not all that baseless after all, were they? They were actually pretty based, those claims. We're probably going to see the same thing here. Despite many House Republicans openly admitting there is no evidence on which to support it. And so they're going to pull out the useful idiot Republicans. Okay. And they've actually got a lot of them here. They've got this guy. They say impeachment is grave, rare, and historic. They did it twice for Trump. The Constitution requires treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. Yeah. They impeached Trump for a phone call. Okay. For the first time, a phone call. And then they launched it twice in one term, lunatics. But House Republicans are publicly stating that they have uncovered none of these things. Okay. So we have a couple of these useful idiot Republicans. Ken Buck said, if there's evidence linking President Biden to a high crime or misdemeanor, but that evidence doesn't exist right now. Dave Joyce from Ohio. So remember these people, remember these people if you live in these states. Ken Buck from Colorado. Dummy. Can't figure it out. I don't think that evidence has been presented. I'm not convinced that evidence exists. Colorado. Representative Dave Joyce from Ohio. Moron. Told Forbes. He said he is not seeing facts or evidence that would merit an impeachment inquiry. Somebody should send him the Marco Polo book. See if it wakes his ass up. Excuse me. Republican Representative Dusty Johnson from South Dakota told CNN that there is a constitutional and legal test that you have to meet with evidence when it comes to impeachment, and he has not seen that evidence. So that's Dusty Johnson from South Dakota. We've got Don Bacon from Nebraska. Says, I think before we move on, we should have a direct link to the president. I guess he wants receipts or something, right? He wants receipts and a big check. This person, Representative French Hill from Arkansas, told CBS that even Republicans have not even remotely completed their work. This guy, Mike Lawler from New York, we're not there yet. North Carolina, Chuck Edwards. And this Republican lawmaker says there's no evidence that Joe Biden got money. And again, that's what they're waiting for, the Venmo transaction. A senior House Republican told Politico, we haven't proven the case for impeachment. That's why how do we start it? So, right, this is what they're telling the media. So, hey, Wolf Blitzer and Jake Tapper and MSNBC Rachel Maddow, when she comes back out for her 1 day of work a week, she can come back out and she can have all of these links. And he's probably linking them back to the actual video files. They can just put them out on their networks. CNN, they say, has reported that there are 30 House Republicans that don't think there's enough evidence yet. And Speaker McCarthy is flip-flopping on his own commitment to a vote. So here's what they are ordering the media. They say, but reporting from you guys that solely focuses on the process rather than the substance is woefully inadequate when it comes to something as historically grave as impeachment. And they really don't want Joe Biden to have that that label because this is their label that they use against Trump. They say he's been twice impeached. And so if Joe has been impeached, oh man, that kind of takes the power out of their stupid label. So here's what the White House is ordering the media to do. It's time for the media to ramp up its scrutiny of House Republicans for opening an impeachment inquiry based on lies. And Jake Tapper's probably just fired up. He's all jazzed up. He's like, yeah, let's go. When even White House Republican members are admitting that there is simply no evidence, which is, again, this is their talking point, no evidence, no evidence. It's going to be like, trust the science, or baseless claims of fraud, baseless, or illegal and unprovoked invasion, no evidence. Much less impeachable, this should set off alarm bells for news organizations. Alarm bells for you guys that the White House wants you to do something. For years, Republicans have tried to muddy the waters by attracting media coverage, but it is the responsibility. It's the responsibility of the independent press, yeah, right, that you're putting pressure on right now to make not independent, these people are nuts, to treat their claims with scrutiny. Covering the impeachment as a process story, like Republicans say X, but the White House says Y, is a disservice to the American public. So if you report on something and you say Republicans, this is their argument, and the Democrat, this is their argument, that's not good enough. You need to take an active role. We rely on the independent press to hold those in power accountable, except the Biden White House. And in the modern media environment where everyday liars and hucksters, probably like us is who he's talking about, peddle disinformation and lies everywhere from Facebook to Fox to YouTube, process stories that are just talking about the mechanics, fail to unpack the illegitimacy of the claims on which House Republicans are basing all their actions, only to generate confusion and put false premises in people's feeds and obscure the truth. Yes, that's what we're doing here, aren't we? Confusing everybody by showing them transcripts and direct evidence of the crimes. House Republicans and leaders should be held accountable. What, you want to indict them too? For the fact that they are lurching towards impeachment over allegations that are not only unfounded, but virtually in all cases have been actively disproven, they say, including by witnesses and documents in their own investigations, as well as year-old congressional probes and even the former president's first impeachment inquiry. As you begin to cover, telling the media, this is Wolf and Blitzer and Tapper and, as you begin to cover the House GOP's impeachment push more intensely, enclosed, you will find a 14-page appendix from the White House that comprehensively addresses the 7 key lies House Republicans are suggesting they are basing an impeachment on. We hope this document helps you provide you with factual information useful in your reporting on their unprecedented, unfounded claims underlying an impeachment inquiry without any evidence of wrongdoing. No evidence, no evidence, no evidence, no evidence. We know there's mounds of evidence. Amazing. So not only are they prosecuting their political opponents, but they also want to co-opt the media to make sure that when they're investigated, that the media plays cover for them. And this is, insane Banana Republic type stuff, if I've ever seen it. Demanding it's time for the media to do something. What happens if the media doesn't do something? Is the White House going to take action against them? Are they going to investigate them like they're doing to Elon Musk? Are they going to basically start to threaten to indict him and take him off the playing field if the media doesn't play ball? This is a direct threat, in my opinion. It is a demand from the White House's office to the media to start doing something about this. It is, I would say, a violation of the First Amendment, and it is so reprehensible, but it doesn't surprise me at all that they're doing it. So that is what Ian Sams wrote, and this is the guy, this is what he sounds like on the TV.
The president was present at some of the meetings between Hunter Biden and his business associates. Why was the president at those meetings on those phone calls?
Well, again, I think this is part of the right wing's misinformation machine to try to confuse people about what the truth is. The truth is that the president, as he has said publicly for years, calls his family every day to check in. He calls his son every day to check in. He calls his other family members to check in to see how they're doing. He loves them. They're a tight-knit family. And what the GOP's own witness testified in this case...
He does love them. He loves them in a certain way. Ashley Biden's diary has something to say about that one.
Is that's exactly what the president was doing. He was checking in with Hunter during a particularly hard time, I might add, a time where the family was going through Hunter's brother Beau's illness. And of course the president checks in with his son and talks to him. But again, that witness testified no business dealings of Hunter Biden's or anyone's was discussed in these conversations. And so again, they're trying to make this sort of strange connection when their own investigation has disproven these claims.
Before I let you go, Ian, has the president responded in terms of how the president has reacted to this, especially as somebody who's been in politics and been in Washington for as long as he has been, the idea that he is now subject to an impeachment inquiry as president of the United States? What's his response to that?
The president has been in politics for a long time, and I think, as he would say, he's seen a lot of malarkey along the way, but this might take the cake. He's focused on the issues that actually matter to the American people. You just saw him spending the last week traveling around the world, shoring up our alliances, advancing national interests in Asia, our economic interests in Asia, showing American leadership leadership on the world stage. He's coming back here. He's announcing today a $250 million investment in cancer research to try to finally cure cancer. That's what his administration and this president is focused on every day. They're focused on the actual needs of the American people. And I think what he would say is maybe the House Republicans should join him.
You know, one thing, and this will be my last one, a lot of people in Washington right now, and I know this is probably going to drive your team.
Yeah, we're all waiting for an actual response for him. He loves his son. We're all supposed to believe that they didn't talk about any business, that there was nothing shady going on there, that Hunter wasn't exploiting his relationship with his father to make a bunch of money, and Joe Biden didn't know anything about it, is what they say. Here is one of the biggest liars in American history who has been censured, another historic thing for this guy in American history. Adam Schiff, pencil neck, says there is no evidence.
What do you make of Speaker McCarthy's move today to launch a new inquiry into President Biden without a full House vote?
Well, this is really based on two things. It's based on the weakness of Kevin McCarthy's speakership, the fact that he doesn't have the moral authority with his members, doesn't have control over his conference, and is beholden to the most extreme elements who want an impeachment of Joe Biden, impeachment without evidence. And second, this is again Kevin McCarthy doing the bidding of Donald Trump. Donald Trump wants to somehow dilute the stain of his impeachments. He wants to try to weaken Joe Biden going into the presidential election. So this is Kevin McCarthy doing what Donald Trump says once again. I'll tell you what it's not. It's not impeachment based on high crimes or misdemeanors or any evidence of such things. This is an essentially evidence-free impeachment, and it is purely politically motivated by McCarthy and Donald Trump.
But do you not have any concerns about the questionable business dealings of Hunter Biden and possible ties to the president when he was vice president?
Well, there's been no evidence of ties to the president or any evidence of any wrongdoing on the part of Joe Biden. Look, I don't think any presidential family member should traffic on the family name. I didn't think so of the Trump kids, and I don't think Hunter Biden should have either. But that's a long cry from saying that the president has engaged in any wrongdoing. He hasn't. This is, of course, nothing to do with evidence. Again, this is Donald Trump exerting his will over Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy beholden to his MAGA elements in the conference, trying to cling on to the speakership for one more day, one more week, maybe one more month.
So no evidence at all. They still have a hard time finding any of it. I do think that there is some truth to that. I think McCarthy probably is feeling some heat now to do something about this because the evidence just keeps coming out. But saying that this is political, I really don't even care about that, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, what they're doing is weaponize political prosecution. So it's like, yeah, impeach them for politics. Who cares? I don't think that that is the big winning talking point. Like, is there still a contingency in this country that thinks that there is a basis, like apolitical processes anymore? I don't think so. I think everything is hyper partisan and everybody realizes that. So like this bipartisan feature, I think that's just a myth now. Doesn't everybody know that it's just a myth? Here is Gaetz.
That Nicole Wallace was living in. As it relates to the work ahead, we can call it whatever we want, but Joe Biden was involved in Hunter's business deals. And then when the evidence became overwhelming as a consequence of the bank records, you had the Department of Justice attempt a sweetheart deal that functioned less as an admission and more as an inoculation for Hunter Biden.
That might
so
be valid.
they were corrupt. They got rich off of it. U.S. policy changed. They dissolved the China policy at the Department of Justice established by President Trump to go after the malign influence of the Chinese Communist Party in our country. And you saw that prosecutor get fired, not as a consequence of true policy objectives of the United States. In 2015, there was an interagency review saying that Shulkin was doing enough to warrant continued aid.
Great job.
And then you have Joe Biden use that as leverage, that very aid, so that the people paying Hunter and supporting the lifestyle of the entire Biden family could get rich. Like, this is not a hard story to tell. A first-year law student could win this case before a fair jury. Now, the United States Senate isn't a fair jury. It's full of great fashion icons like John Fetterman. But I think that the Senate will be the platform and the American people will be the jury when we put that case on before them.
All right, so I think that's appropriate, right? Continue the investigation, uncover the facts, bring the facts out to the public, and we can see it. If it's partisan, who cares? That's what they're doing. They're the ones who have started all of this with the political prosecutions of Donald Trump. If the Republicans open up an inquiry, they scream from the rooftops about what an unfair, unjust environment this is, and they demand the media take action to protect themselves. And you know what? The media is probably going to do it, which is why it's so important that we continue our work here to combat those lies from them. And that's why we appreciate you subscribing. We really appreciate you sharing this show and sharing our videos, sharing our shorts, the little short form videos with others so that we can reach more people and expand our great work. Thank you for subscribing and liking this video, my friends, and we'll see you on the next one.